Team Penske's done some spring cleaning, adding on to the multi-car fold with Jeremy Mayfield.
I was the first guy who didn't like two-car teams. But I got to admit, I like the way this two-car team's working.
Now, the house that Rusty built is in order and ready to kick some. This season started with a bang for Ken Schrader. The momentum of a good 98 start has the Skull Bandit heading west to pillage an innocent town called Vegas.
We've got a lot of laps that place. We've already got some knowledge about what we need there. There's those 15 other guys that can win too, and that hopefully one of them won't mess our day up.
Rubbin's racing, son. Tell that to Tony Stewart. We'll talk with the kid that took the rock by storm in a final lap bump and run.
Let's get ready to rumble!
We're heading to Vegas, and you're going inside NASCAR.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us here on Inside NASCAR on this first day of March 1998. Go West, young man. That's what the Winston Cup gang did. They make their much-anticipated debut later today at the $200 million Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Our gang of Ned Jarrett, Phil Wers, and Stephanie Boyd-Durner are there as well, so let's check in with them now. Ned, take it away.
Well, thanks, Tyler, and good morning, everyone. What a gorgeous day it is here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A little cool in the morning, but it does warm up during the afternoon. And what a gorgeous facility this is, too. This town has really embraced the sport of NASCAR Winston Cup racing like I've never seen before. Joining me here are Stephanie Boyd-Durner and Phil Wers. And Phil, the competition should be great here this afternoon because this track lends itself to a lot of passing, a lot of 2 and 3 wide racing. And some of the drivers have been here in the past, maybe give them an advantage.
Now, there are 10 drivers that do have previous experience at this track, either in last year's inaugural Busch Series race or the Craftsman Truck Series race. Jeff Green won that inaugural Busch Series race here last year. He says, yes, there is a comfort level with this particular track, but when it comes to the competition, especially in Winston Cup racing, he says trying to pull off another win is going to be tough here.
The speeds are quite a bit greater in a Cup car getting into the corner, so you have to deal with that a little bit, but basically drives the same, you know, so we can get our car working as good as we had last year, we'll be okay.
Craftsman Truck Series driver Tony Raines has experience on this track as well, but not in a Cup car. But he wasn't fast enough to make the show in his first attempt ever for Yellow Freight System. Glad to be back in Winston Cup is veteran crew chief Jeff Hammond. As we told you Saturday, he's landed with Roush Racing as crew chief for Chad Little's John Deere team. We talked with Jeff about his new opportunity.
I've got very little experience with Taurus as it stands right now, but everybody at Roush Racing has been very helpful coming over and asking, you know, how we're doing. Chad and I have been trying to, you know, develop an understanding along with Skip Eiler. And as far as the guys are concerned, they are very young. But the best thing about them is they're very hungry. So when you say, hey, let's do something, there's no questions. There's just jumping and everybody, you know, trying to get the job done real quick. And I can see a lot of really good things coming from this team. And, I mean, like I say, I'm very proud to be with Jack Roush and John Deere.
Not good news for the John Deere team in Saturday's practice. Chad Little receiving contact in turns 1 and 2. The result, a smash race car and the number 97 backup car forced to start at the rear of the field this afternoon. In other news, popular Las Vegas driver Chris Chickle made his first public appearance Thursday night since being shot in a drive-by shooting more than a year ago. Hundreds of people attended the event, which helped raise money to help pay for Trickle's medical bills. Also on Thursday night, the folks with NASCAR Cafe have a new venue on the menu. The next NASCAR-themed restaurant will open in Las Vegas early next year. And Winston Cup points leader Rusty Wallace is sporting a new look for the race today. The Miller Lite team is honoring Elvis Presley with a new paint scheme, officially unveiled Saturday night at Caesars Palace. Hey, Rusty, did that come with a jelly donut? And, of course, being in Las Vegas, you can bet on just about anything, especially stuff going on here at the track. And, Ned, you can bet on when the first caution flag might fall or how many cars might end up on the lead lap at the end of the race. But the bookmakers say the odds-on favorites to win this race, either pole sitter Dale Jarrett or Mr. Inaugural Jeff Gordon.
Well, coming in here, Jeff Gordon was the absolute favorite, but after Jarrett won the pole, well, that changed a little bit. And Mark Martin is ranked very heavy here also among the odds makers. Now, Jeff Gordon will be trying to become the first driver to win 3 inaugural races. Of course, he won the Brickyard first time there and at the new California Speedway last year. So he's trying to get in the record books all by himself. Tyler, back to you right now.
Okay, guys, one other news item to tell you about. Rick Fuller is out of the number 40 Channel Lock Chevy. Kevin LePage will take his place for the remainder of the year. provided there are no conflicts with his Winston Cup ride. We got to take a break, but when we come back, we'll head back out to Las Vegas to get you set for today's race. We'll also look back at yesterday's Busch action from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Inside NASCAR is brought to you by Chase Authentics. The authentic trackside apparel of NASCAR is now available at NASCAR specialty stores and leading department stores everywhere.
Here's an interesting stat to throw your way. In the first 2 races of the 98 season, the driver starting in the 4th position has won the race. Dale Earnhardt did it in Daytona. Jeff Gordon turned the trick last week at Rockingham. So who's starting 4th today? For the answer to that, as well as the rest of the qualifying, let's head back out to Las Vegas and our Ned Jarrett. Ned?
You know, Tyler, winning the pole at any NASCAR Winston Cup event is a big confidence booster for the driver and the team. And, of course, it puts them in the Bud Shootout. But, Stephanie, winning the pole at an inaugural event is more special than most of the others because people have a tendency to remember that for a long, long time.
They sure do, Ned. And I guess you were pleased to find out, as was your son Dale on Friday, that the name Jarrett will go down in the history books as the inaugural pole winner here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now, DJ's been on the pole for an inaugural race before, last year at Texas, in fact. He was on the pole by virtue of points then, though, because qualifying was rained out. But this time he earned his way to the pole in qualifying on Friday. 51 cars went on the clock to try and make the first ever Winston Cup race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Jeff Bodine put most of them to shame with a wicked lap of 32.256 seconds, a mark that would be hard-pressed for anyone to beat. And for most of the session, that held true until the 42nd car out when Dale Jarrett took to the track. DJ was over a 1/10 of a second faster than Bodine, running a 32.1 at 168.224 miles an hour. Even Jeff Gordon, who was the next to last car out, couldn't better that mark. He'll start 5th, while DJ surprised even himself with a lap that gave him his 6th career pole.
I was sitting watching Jeff whenever he ran, and I thought, I can't believe anybody could run that fast around here, and he made a great lap. But, horsepower that we have and the race cars that we have certainly make my job easier. And even though it was a surprise to us, we knew that we could run reasonably fast.
A couple of other notable drivers. Points leader Rusty Wallace starts 10th after a last-minute motor change while qualifying was going on. His teammate Jeremy Mayfield starts 32nd. Dale Earnhardt and Darrell Waltrip had identical laps to start 26th and 27th, while Chad Little and Michael Waltrip will both have to drop to the back of the field in backup cars after hitting the wall in separate incidents in practice on Saturday. After failing to make the first 2 races of the season, Wally Dallenbach made the show in Friday's first round. But one of the biggest stories of the weekend is the fact that Todd Bodine has yet to make a Winston Cup race in 1998. In fact, this is the 4th straight event he'll spend on the sidelines, dating back to his 2nd race with the Tabasco team at Atlanta last November.
It's hard for me. You know, I'm used to qualifying near the front, running at the front, and finishing in the top 10. I mean, I did it all last year, and to not even qualify is just rips your heart out. But you know, I feel for these guys on the team. They worked so hard all winter to get this team prepared to get us to these races, and they've done a great job. And it's nothing they've done, and they don't deserve to have to go home.
There are currently no plans to make any personnel changes within Bodine's team. Kevin LePage was the only one of the 4 rookies to qualify his way into today's Las Vegas 400. Steve Park and Jerry Nadeau both missed the show, while Kenny Irwin only made it in on a provisional thanks to the 28 car's 97 points. Kenny Schrader also had to take a provisional, despite the fact that he's got more experience on this track than any other driver. The other provisionals went to Ricky Craven, Steve Grissom, Bobby Hamilton, Hutch Strickland, and Lake Speed. Well, of the tracks currently on the Winston Cup schedule, 20 of them have held inaugural events since back in 1949. But Ned, only twice has the pole sitter gone on to win the race. Happened in 1957 with Buck Baker and 1960 with Fireball Roberts. That's been 38 years ago.
Wow, that was long before you were born. That doesn't fit too well for DJ starting on the pole, but heck, I guess records are made to be broken.
That's right.
Phil, looks like we're in for a great race here today.
Ned, I think a historic one as well. By the end of the day, a Ford Taurus will probably sit in victory lane.
Okay, won't be too long till we'll find out. Back to you, Tyler.
All right, guys, good job out there in Vegas. We'll ask you when you get back how much money you lost. It's been quite a weekend for Fords in Vegas. In addition to Jarrett's pole, Mark Martin and his Taurus secured the top spot for yesterday's Busch race. He was a 6-time winner last year in the Busch Series, but could he win for the first time this year? Let's look back at the action. The second annual Sam's Town Las Vegas 300 got underway with Mark Martin on the pole. Matter of fact, Cup guys held down spots 1 through 3. Martin was passed within a few laps by Joe Nemechek, who then was passed by Martin's teammate Jeff Burton, who became the only driver to lead all 3 Busch Series races in '98. First caution was out on lap 49 when Kevin Schwantz and Shane Hall made contact between turns 1 and 2. Now this all happened just in front of the leaders. In the pits, Nemechek beats Martin out to retake the lead. He would also grab the Gatorade bonus for leading at halfway. In the second half, problems for last week's runner-up Tony Stewart, who knocks the wall here and is forced to pit. He finished 34th after crashing with 11 laps to go. Martin's chances of victory were dashed when he received a 10-second penalty for losing a tire during the 5th caution. 3 late cautions couldn't slow down Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer, who held off a hard-charging Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the closing laps to win by .211 seconds. The finish was marred by a multi-car crash that saw defending series champion Randy LaJoie slide upside down across the track. 5 of the top 6 finishers were Cup drivers, with the top 3 spots going to Chevys: Spencer, Earnhardt Jr., and Nemechek. Jeff Burton and Dale Jarrett rounded out the top 5.
Yeah, it was exciting. You know, I know it was real exciting for the fans. It was nervous for me. I mean, I had a lot of pressure put on me by Dale Jr., Joe Nemechek, Jeff Burton. I mean, and we withstood it, you know. I got to congratulate them for not roughing me up and stuff like that. I do the same thing for them. We're just fortunate to be out front.
I got to work on my restarts a little bit. That's what cost us a victory or a possible victory, and there was some times where we could have, you know, on the last lap there we got pretty close, and I could have moved him over a little bit if I wanted to, but I knew it'd be heck to pay over in 3 and 4 if he got back to me. So I didn't want to win it like that, and I'm glad we run second. It's a good day for AC Delco and for Chevrolet, and you know, Chevrolet won the race, and that's the way we want to keep it.
Spencer's win no doubt shocked the Vegas odds makers, who had him as an 18-to-1 long shot to win the race. Way to go, Jimmy. Hey, we're out of time for this segment of Inside NASCAR. When we come back, we've got Rusty Wallace, Jeremy Mayfield, and Ken Schrader. As we leave for this break, here's a look at the first 5 rows for today's Las Vegas 400. Have a great Sunday, everybody.
Welcome back to Inside NASCAR. I'm Ned Jarrett, along with Tyler Potter in our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tyler, a big weekend for NASCAR Winston Cup racing, going to Las Vegas for the first time.
A prime time spot, Ned. It's going to be a terrific event out there. A lot of excitement surrounding this race. And, of course, NASCAR, nothing new to expansion. Last year, of course, Texas and California. Now, the Busch and truck circuits have already had their chance at Las Vegas. Now it's Winston Cup's turn.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Viva Las Vegas, baby. New York, New York, Bally's, Caesar's Palace, the Strip. Vegas is entertainment, and now Winston Cup racing. 2 years after opening, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway is now home for NASCAR's top series. And while the Truck and Busch Series made their debuts the last 2 years, it's Winston Cup's turn now. And this all comes a year after NASCAR's latest expansion in Texas and California. So why Vegas, especially with races in nearby Phoenix and Fontana?
Well, we're always looking to expand into new markets, and Las Vegas is a new market. It's a great facility out there. It's a 1.5-mile racetrack, and they've already proven that they can run Winston West events and Craftsman Truck Series events and Busch Series events. So we think Winston Cup is the next step, and just in our theme with moving into new markets and taking our sport into new areas, Las Vegas seems to be a great opportunity.
Well, I think the track's great from what I've heard. I went out there for the introduction myself and Bill Ollett and a couple other drivers last year when Bill France asked us to go out to introduce the new track to the circuit. And I drove around in the street car, and it was really smooth and really great and wide and all that. So I like it a lot from that perspective. And you talk to all the drivers, and all the drivers give it rave reviews, so I got to go with what they're saying.
Some would question why Vegas got a Cup race before, say, Homestead, which too hosts Busch and truck events and has been open a year longer.
Well, I think we just kind of take those on a track-by-track
situation, and Las Vegas happened to be a perfect fit for us, and it fits into the schedule very nicely right now. And I mean, there's a number of other tracks that right now want Winston Cup races, and we're willing to listen to all of them, but we just have to wait until we can get places in our schedule that they'll fit in.
But let's face it, this is no ordinary race because Las Vegas is no ordinary city, and that's got the drivers fired up.
Well, I think certainly it's an exciting place to go and a great place for NASCAR to be. And, you know, when you go to a new racetrack, you're always a little more excited, and to know that, you know, it took them a very short time to sell out the tickets there, you know that the fans are excited about it, too.
Well, I like that I'm going there, but the biggest reason I like I'm going there is not only because it's a new race, which it is, and it's great. I like new markets, but we're unveiling our Elvis Presley car out there, and that's going to be big. You're going to see billboards all over Las Vegas. There'll be big parties going on. There'll be a lot of neat things happening surrounding the the Elvis car, and I just hope the doggone thing runs great.
I think the glitter factor is what it's all about. You know, to break the Las Vegas market, you know what I mean? I think for NASCAR, they broke the bank when they went there, so that's a cool deal.
Let's get right down to it. Las Vegas, as you know, never closes. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That means gambling's going on constantly at over 400 casinos. Right, Rusty?
No, not out of me, because I don't know how to gamble. Maybe a couple slot machines or something. I'll stay in our coach on Saturday night, and I'm sure on Sunday morning there'll have a lot of guys coming up. Hey, Rusty, can I borrow $100 to get home? Because there'll be a bunch of broke ones or a bunch of rich ones, I'll tell you that.
Is there a possibility you could see Kyle Petty doing some gambling out there?
No, only at the racetrack, man. I'm not. Dale Jarrett and Michael and some of these guys, they may spend time at the tables, but, you know, every time I lose a quarter, I cry, so I'm pretty tight when it comes to that.
I'll definitely be there doing some. I enjoy Las Vegas, and but we're still there on business, so you got to make sure that we're ready for the race.
What's your favorite?
I enjoy playing blackjack, and so it's you know, something don't get out there very much, but when I do, I have a lot of fun.
Last thing, if you were a bookie, where would you place your odds at winning that race in Vegas?
Oh, I'd have to say we'd be somewhere in the 6 to 7 to 1 range. So I think we'd have to be maybe not the favorite, but one of the top ones.
Ned, we heard from Dale. He said his favorite game is blackjack. Now, I know you're going to be working pretty hard out there, but if you have some time, what's going to be your favorite game?
Hey, I like the entertainment they have out there. They have the best in the world.
You took the easy way out. Come on.
Well, the easy way around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway maybe is by a couple of drivers who've had experience there. Ken Schrader and Kenny Irwin takes us around on the inside line.
It's really neat. It's like a small Michigan or a big Richmond, something like that.
Now, I've seen this driven 3 or 4 different ways.
The front straightaway, you can be all the way at the bottom of the racetrack or all the way up against the fence. It's one continuous turn. You don't run out of room like you do a lot of racetracks off of turn 2.
Let the car drift back up to the wall, so we're actually exiting turn 2 now. On the back
straightaway, it doesn't take long to get down there. It's pretty short, actually.
Turn 3 and 4, it seems like you can run like 2 different grooves.
The cars don't get loose because the transition's good. The banking picks you up far enough back, you know, onto the straightaway.
Coming off the corner, you just let the car just drift back up just as high as you can let it go.
As you come off turn 4, it's an increasing radius. You know, it's like Michigan, it opens up and gets wider.
Very, very exciting because it tries to pull the wind off the rear spoiler.
It's pretty much a perfect racetrack.
Well, Tyler, one of the big stories in the early part of the 1998 racing season has been the so-called 5 and 5 rule.
NASCAR hopes to make things more competitive. Ned, it started at Rockingham last week, and they hope it'll be more competitive. You know, it was interesting talking to Ray Evernham after the race last week. He said that if it weren't for all those pit stops, getting the right setup, he said they may not have been in victory lane, and if that doesn't happen, maybe at a track like Vegas, they could be in trouble.
Well, it certainly produced some good competitive racing at the Rock. Bill Wurz has the 5 and 5 story.
Crews from every NASCAR Winston Cup team were busy at Rockingham last week. Busy shaving down rear spoilers and raising front air dams was the main order of business as teams worked to comply with NASCAR's new 5 and 5 rule, a rule many drivers say is a good idea.
you know, with all the spoiler and the air dam, all the downforce that we had, it made the cars go through the corners so fast that we really couldn't race side by side like that. So I think that this is going to get some of it back in the driver and crew chief's hands, is working with the spring and shock combinations. And I think it's a good direction that NASCAR is going in.
Is it a little bit easier when the rules are across the board for everybody as opposed to, say, just the Chevys?
I think so, Phil, and it's early in the season, so a lot of people haven't done a lot of testing yet. You know, some of us have played at tire tests and whatnot with 5 and 5 rule, but, you know, the season is early enough where you really haven't killed a lot of tests, you know, just Daytona or Talladega, and that doesn't apply there. So, you know, it's fortunate enough early enough to where, you know, we've still got a lot of tests left.
I'm concerned about the Fords because it's an unknown element. To look at that car, it's an awfully slick piece. I mean, the corners of the roof are pulled down. It looks like it's going to be tough to beat on the long haul.
Well, for the short haul, Craven may have a point. At Rockingham this past Sunday, the unknown variable about the Taurus looked like a proven commodity. Toss out the Chevy in victory lane driven by Jeff Gordon, and 4 Taurus drivers grabbed places 2 through 7.
The 5 and 5 rule was fine, I thought. It was a great rule. No problem. I don't think it changed the race much at all. The cars were just a little, couldn't drive in the corners as deep and got on the gas a little later. It was good.
I think they're pretty darn even. I saw some Pontiacs running really good. There aren't as many of them, so if some have troubles, they look bad. But there's some good running Pontiacs. The Chevys, well, Chevy won. Can't be too bad. And a lot of Fords are running good. So I think it looks pretty darn even right now.
I think that's the thing. You know, we had a little different shock combination than was necessary. We ran our Thunderbird combination. We needed to be a little bit different. So we got to learn that. You know, we're the new race car and the new rules and everything. And those guys got old race cars, and they sort of know what they're going to do. So I think the Taurus will show better when we get 3 or 4 more races on them.
The rules change as NASCAR's effort to bring the field closer together and to provide fans more exciting side-by-side racing. And while it's hard to judge the rules change just by one race, there were 2 interesting facts about the race at the Rock, which may show that NASCAR is going in the right direction. First, 13 cars finished on the lead lap, a record for a 400-mile race at Rockingham. And secondly, the 27 lead changes among a dozen drivers also set a record at the Rock. But 4 drivers led for more than 300 of the 393 laps. Will this 5 and 5 rule help alleviate the possibility of a restrictor plate race at Atlanta or anywhere else?
That's certainly our goal. I mean, when we were testing these cars, we looked at the spoiler heights, we looked at the front air dam ground clearance, and we also looked at restrictor plates. But restrictor plates were our third option. And I think we found a good blend with the spoiler and the front air dam that we're not going to have to do the restrictor plate, at least not right now.
But now NASCAR goes from a tight 1-mile track to a more wide-open, faster 1.5-mile speed oval at Las Vegas. And at least one driver we spoke with says the strength of the 5 and 5 rule will be strongly tested in the desert.
The real trouble is going to come at Vegas next week. You won't see that much here, but next week's going to be a handful.
Tell us why.
Because it's faster and slippery. It's going to be cars that run closer together. It's going to be fun.
Ned, of course, most of the teams probably agree that it's a little bit too early to judge the 5 and 5 rule after just one race, but after Vegas, it'd be a whole different story, especially on a much bigger track like Mark talked about.
Yeah, and I think they need to go to Atlanta next week and maybe even one of the short tracks to get a full handle on how it is going to work. But we need to take a short break right now, and when we come back, we'll talk to Ken Schrader. So you stay with us.
Coming up, Ken Schrader's holding an ace in the hole when it comes to Vegas.
I'm looking forward to it. You know, there's certain tracks drivers like a little bit more than other tracks. You can't hate any of them, but I really do like going to Vegas.
Plus, we'll go in focus with Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield.
Ken Schrader's year didn't start off too good for him. He was injured in the Gatorade 125 qualifying race for the Daytona 500, but then came back and ran a strong 4th in the Daytona 500, so things have gotten back on track for him.
And no other Winston Cup driver has logged more laps on that track than Ken Schrader, and of course 2 Winston West races and a truck race there, so he certainly got the experience on that track.
Well, Stephanie Boyd-Durner has his story.
Of the 5 races held so far on the 1.5-mile Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Kenny Schrader has competed in all but one of them, racking up 2 victories and 1 top 10 finish along the way. He won the inaugural race at the track in November of '96, the Las Vegas 300K for the Winston West Series. The next day, he finished 8th in the Truck Series race there, and this past November, he made it 2 Winston West wins in a row. That makes him not only the winningest driver at the track, it also gives him more laps than any of his fellow competitors as the Winston Cup Series plays Vegas for the first time this weekend.
It'll help, you know, the fact that we've run 4 races out there, 2 of the Winston West races and 2 of the truck races. A lot of the other guys have run the truck racing net out there, and so much information's passed around from team to team that I don't think it'll be a big help. The first Winston West race we ran out there was on bias ply tires, so that won't count for much. And the second one, even though it was on the same tires, and there was a lot of half a dozen or 8 Cup drivers in the field, different spoiler rules and stuff, so it'll help, but not a tremendous advantage. It's hard to get a big advantage over these kids.
But in the world of Winston Cup racing, every little bit helps, especially when you're playing hurt. Schrader fractured his sternum during the 125s at Daytona and has had to wear a flak jacket for the first 2 races of the season. In the Daytona 500, no injury could slow him down as he took the Skoal Chevy to a 4th-place finish. Rockingham, on the other hand, was a struggle for both his car and his body. But now Schrader says he's ready to put it all behind him.
We're fine. Probably didn't feel quite as good after Rockingham as Daytona just because Rockingham's a more physical track. But, you know, by the time we get to Vegas, we will have had 2 weeks for it to heal. They're saying like 5 weeks, so we'll be almost halfway there, and it's feeling a lot better. We're just, as far as the driving's no problem. I just don't need to be hitting anything anymore for a while, but you don't need to be hitting anything anyway. We're plenty geared up and protected in case we would hit something.
The risk of hitting something is exactly why car owner Andy Petrie pulled the Skoal driver out of this past Wednesday night's Winston West race at Vegas, where Schrader would have gone for 3 in a row, and if he won, would have added to his already impressive legacy there. So far, Schrader is the only driver to log victories in multiple events at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now the only question is, can he do it in a Winston Cup car?
We most definitely can win. The Skoal car, the whole Skoal team, you know, we're geared up. We think we'll have a real good run out there. We went and did a Goodyear tire test in December, right before the banquet. We were out there for 2 days. We've got a lot of laps at that place. We've already got some knowledge about what we need there. There's those 15 other guys that can win, too, and that hopefully one of them won't mess our day up.
Well, if experience has anything to do with it, Schrader may not have a lot to worry about. But then again, we're talking about Winston Cup racing, where even in Vegas, there are no sure bets.
Ken Schrader is one of the most determined people that I've ever seen. I think he's going to have a great year, and certainly this weekend at Las Vegas. But there's another guy who's having a great year, Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, sure is, Ned. And, of course, he hasn't even run a full Busch Series season yet, but in just 24 races, he has 3 top 5s, including the win, and 8 top 10s.
And in the 2 races so far this year, he has a 6th and a 1st. He's on top of the point standings. Phil Wurz talked to him.
It was a perfect storybook ending. Young driver with no sponsor catches the leader on the last lap and wins the race. It's a story Wisconsin's Matt Kenseth doesn't mind telling.
Yeah, you know, I never really thought of winning the race until about 25 to go. I looked in the mirror and didn't see anybody. I thought Jeff Burton was going to come and drive by everybody because he was so strong all day. And then I saw Tony, and I kept running kind of easy. And the easier I ran, the faster we went. And I was watching him, and he was getting loose. So Robbie was keeping me abreast with how fast we were running, how fast he was running, and he just kept nagging at me, you know, lift early, save the tires, you know, save something for the end there, and you're catching them, you know. So with about 10 to go there, I knew we were going to catch them, but I just wasn't sure what we were going to do when we got there.
But once Kenseth did get there, it was a racer's instinct that took over.
We got to some lap cars, and Tony went high to go around the lap cars, you know, which you should and which you have to, and then I just made a try off the 2. I drove underneath them off the 2. There was like 2 or 3 laps to go, knowing that I was going to get pinched off, but just to get in there and try it, maybe something would happen, you know. And we got together a little bit off turn 2, so I said, well, I better cool my jets there for a lap and get straightened back out. So we both went around the lap cars, single file down there in 1 and 2 on the white flag lap, and we went into 3, and we're finally one-on-one. It was the first time we were one-on-one the whole race, and you know, he drove in pretty hard and got a little loose, and I actually lifted a little earlier and got the thing turned to the bottom and just got a really, really good run off of 4. And when I got close to him, it got him a little bit loose, and then we just touched, and it got him just a little bit looser, and I had such a good run off the corner, it just carried the momentum down the straightaway.
Kenseth grabbed his first Busch win in just his 24th career start in the series, an amazing accomplishment for a team that lost its full-time sponsor just before leaving for Daytona.
kind of shows what the guys are made of, man. They're great. They're great guys. They're good friends of mine now, and they really work hard. We really work hard together. You know, Robbie has team meetings every week. The shop everything's totally open in the shop. Everybody knew that we lost our sponsor 5 minutes after Robbie knew we lost our sponsor. So that's just the way it is. It's like one big family in the shop, and it's the best group of people I ever got an opportunity to work with. And they're just a great race team.
While Kenseth is turning heads, he's already gotten the attention of Jack Roush and Mark Barton. Roush Racing has signed Kenseth on as part of a so-called driver development program.
Basically, it's kind of Mark's idea. He kind of wanted to have me kind of tag along and watch them when they go test, and maybe get a chance to drive the Winston Cup cars a little bit when we go test. And that's been a great help to me. I can go and hang around and bug them guys all day and see what they change in the cars and what they do, and you know, get an opportunity to test with Winston Cup cars a little bit to try to get me some more seat time.
And with more of that and a full-time sponsor, Matt Kenseth could see more visits to Victory Lane in 1998 and beyond.
What a nice young talent, Matt Kenseth. We'll hear more from him as the year goes on. We'll be back with more on Inside NASCAR right after this.
A good feeling for me is that we're only 2 weeks into the season, and as a two-car team or a multi-car team, then we don't really have a lot of experience behind us right yet, and it's already started out this good. So, man, the future just lies ahead for all of us, and that's Rusty, myself, and everybody that's involved.
NASCAR is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, and as part of that celebration, we look back at some of the great events of the past, and this week we look back at the 1961 World 600 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
If you were at the Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 28, 1961, you would have seen drivers like Fred Lorenzen. You would have watched the crew push Ralph Earnhardt's car to the grid, and you would have been among the 46,000 fans who turned out to watch the 600-mile endurance test. The green flag fell with pole sitter Richard Petty and Joe Weatherly starting the show on the front row. Weatherly got the lead for a single lap and then gave it up to the 1960 Rookie of the Year David Pearson driving the number 3. Ralph Earnhardt driving the number 6 led 4 different times and finished the day 11th. The race turned out to be a battle between Pearson and Petty. Luckily for Pearson, he was on pit road when his tire blew. Otherwise, he may have been out of the race. It wasn't a great day for eventual 1961 champion Ned Jarrett. He lost a tire and control. Even with the spin, Jarrett fought his way back toward the front and finished the day 4th. David Pearson, racing hard with Earnhardt, retook the top spot around lap 150. Petty lost an engine on lap 332, dropping him to 30th in the final rundown. There were 7 cautions for 57 laps, but no accident that day was any more serious than the crash that took a leg from Richard Reds Cagle. But in the end, David Pearson, driving a 61 Pontiac sponsored by the Daytona Kennel Club, took his very first Grand National victory. It was a hard-fought day as the Silver Fox took the checkers on 3 wheels after cutting a tire in the closing moments of the 1961 World 600.
I hope you enjoyed looking back at those little races as much as I do to see how the cars looked and see how the competition was. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield about their new alliance.
We are not racing each other. I'll be the first to tell you, if Jeremy was sitting right here, that's one thing I can grab. I can grab the kid by the neck and say, we don't race each other. He knows we don't race each other. We race the field. We work together. We do just what we did at Daytona.
While there are several teams who have alliances this year with other teams to gather information and to share data. And it seems to be working for Team Penske and the Kranitas team.
Sure does, Ned. And Jeremy Mayfield, of course, was a good driver last year, just missed the top 10, and he and Paul Andrews, with another year of gelling together, have helped. And, of course, now that Rusty Wallace is along, they're going to get bigger and better.
And they've been strong in the first 2 races, and they're the subject of In Focus.
I was the first guy that didn't like 2-car teams. But I got to admit, I like the way this 2-car team's working.
Ever since Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield have become teammates, things couldn't be better for either Winston Cup driver. They ran together in the season-opening Daytona 500, both bringing home top 5 finishes. They were side-by-side again last week at Rockingham, Rusty finishing second, and Mayfield also headed for another top 5. Had it not been for a late race caution that collected the Mobil 1 Ford and pushed him back to 14th. A top 5 might have put Mayfield in contention for the Winston Cup points lead. Instead, that honor goes to his new teammate, who's leading the point standings for the first time since May of 1993.
Complete different year. I mean, we absolutely pushed the reset button from last year, hired a lot of different people, a complete new approach, a real focused approach, 2-car team, and God, it's all paying dividends right now.
Our goals are still the same this year. You know, we want to finish in top 5, no less than top 10 points, and we want to win a race. And we feel like if we can win that first race, you know, that'll set us up to win several more. And you know, we come close to Daytona, come close to Rockingham, and I think there again, you got to go through those stages before you actually start winning races. You got to know how to win, and what we've done the first couple of weeks has kind of taught me a lot of lessons. I've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks on how to win and what it's going to take.
You can bet Wallace has a lot to do with Mayfield's learning curve. Despite their age difference, Wallace is 41 while Mayfield is 28. These guys are cut from the same mold and have had immediate respect for each other.
We came from the same background. You know, we both kind of came up the hard way and had to learn how to work on our own race cars and fix them and change springs and know what shocks do and know what sway bars do. And I don't think he really knew that I had to come up that way. And I think here in the last couple months, he's found out that I do know my race car from one end to the other, and I already knew that he knew it, so I respect him for that. And I think that he respects me for having to come up the way he did. And we're just racers, you know, it's the bottom line. We're all here to win, and what you call there's a difference between drivers and racers who are drivers, the way I look at it. And racers are ones that do whatever it takes and know how to work on their own stuff. And he and I are a lot alike in that perspective.
But because they're racers, they both have the instinct to go to the front, even though now they're supposed to work with another guy in the field. Take Rockingham, for instance. You were going for the lead the other day, and Jeremy pulled the slick move right by you and Bodine. You know, you think
no, that was a little surprising on me. Yeah, I had a little something planned there, and I didn't think he'd do what he done, but hey, he's excited to run up front, and he wants the lead laps, and I want him to lead laps, and he needed to get 5 points, and he saw an opportunity to get 5 points, and I can't fault him for that.
But do you guys, I mean, are you racing each other? Are you racing everybody else?
We're not racing each other. I'll be the first to tell you, and Jeremy was sitting right here. That's one thing I can grab. I can grab the kid by the neck and say, we don't race each other. He knows we don't race each other. We race the field. We work together. We do just what we did at Daytona. We work together. He got hung out to drive one time. I throttled back, let him in. I got hung out to drive one time. He throttled back, let me in. You know, I get to the bottom. He sucks with me. We work together. We're not going to race each other. If we ever race each other, unless it's the last 10 or 12 laps, that'll be the day the 2-car teams start having problems. And I don't suspect that'll ever happen.
Instead, it's what they did at Daytona that is exactly why Wallace is atop the point standings. Traditionally, the restrictor plate tracks have been his downfall, and a bad Daytona 500 usually cost him any shot at the lead. But if he and Mayfield can keep up their current pace, the sky's the limit for the '89 Series champ and his new protege. Can you win the championship in 1998?
Oh, we can win a championship in 1998. And, yeah, I can win it. I can tell you one thing, that 12-car can win it, too. We both can win it. There's a bunch of guys out there that are great teams, but, God, I'll tell you what, I'd put our guys up against anybody for how far we're focused and how much we're paying attention on this.
What happens if it does come down between the two of you?
If it does come down, well, Mr. Penske said, get after it. The best guy wins, you know, that particular year. And, hey, Jeremy knows and I know that we work together the first 7/8 part of the race, and right there at the very end, if it's him and I racing, we're going to go try to win. I expect him to try to get around me, and I expect me to try to get around him. And that's what Roger wants.
Referring, of course, to Roger Penske, the guy who brought Wallace and Mayfield together in the first place. His plan was to build their two separate teams into one much stronger powerhouse. And although the season may still be young, so far it's working like a charm.
Hey, that 2 and 12 team looks like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with all year long.
They sure do, Ned, and each guy, you can tell, just has tremendous confidence in each other that they're going to get the job done, and they will be a force before the 98 season is out.
We need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have the mailbox. So you stay with us.
Next week, you'll go inside this year's Winston Cup Rookie Chase as we profile 98's new faces. Part 1, Steve Park. Plus, rookies to veterans. We'll talk with the Wood brothers and see the history behind the old number 21.
The Inside NASCAR mailbox is brought to you by Miller Lite. Our question today is from Judy Olson from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. What is the difference between a qualifying setup and race day setup?
Hi, I'm Robin Pemberton, crew chief on the Miller Lite Ford Taurus. Thanks for writing in, Judy. To answer your question, the difference between qualifying setup and a race setup, on qualifying, our goal is to get maximum speed out of the car for 2 laps, which is probably a little bit stiffer springs and shock combination. And for the race setup, we try to get as soft as we can so the tires will last a full fuel stop, roughly about 80 miles. Thanks for writing in.
If you have a question for the Inside NASCAR mailbox, write us at Inside NASCAR, Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. Or email us at inside.nascar@sunbeltvideo.com. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Lite jacket and a cap and shirt from Chase Authentics, the authentic trackside apparel of NASCAR.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for this show. We hope you enjoyed it. And Tyler, now, next week after Vegas, it's on to Atlanta.
That's right. I'll be back on the road. And, of course, Ned, your son, Dale, the defending champion this race, looking to make it 2 straight.
Will you join us again here on TNN for more on the Inside NASCAR?
The 1998 Team Simpson Racing Catalog is now available. For information, call 800-71-RACIN or visit the website at simpsonraceproducts.com. Ground transportation is provided by Glavelle, the official van conversion company of NASCAR. Glavelle, the choice of NASCAR tracks, teams, and drivers. Call 800-445-2825 for a dealer near you. Communications provided by Racing Radios, the two-way radio provider of the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, Busch Series, and Craftsman Truck Series.